Thanks for joining the H+ Wakeboard program. Shortly you'll be receiving your new product. Before that happens, we thought we'd take the time to go over unboxing your new product and go over some things that'll help you get set up and get out on the water quicker. First, let's talk about some tools you'll need. You'll need something sharp, like a set of keys, to unbox your product. Maybe a box cutter, or even a number 2 screwdriver will help you get your box open. You're also going to need 2 screwdrivers, one if you got a boat board, a number 2 screwdriver to put the fins on, and most importantly, a number 3 screwdriver to put your bindings on. We don't want you using a number 2 screwdriver to put your bindings on because the head of the screwdriver is not big enough and it'll strip the heads of the screws, and it won't allow you to get the screws tight enough onto your board. So make sure you use a number 3 screwdriver with a bigger head. These are Phillips head screwdrivers. And then you'll need a tape measure so you can set up your stance width and figure out what your stance width is from board to board. All right, let's go over unboxing your board. So each board comes in a nice humanoid box. You're going to want to take your sharp object, your set of keys, or your screwdriver, or your box cutter, and just slip the front edge, pop open the top. Now each board comes on a board backer to protect the perimeter of the board during shipping. So you'll want to look inside the box and make sure you flip the board in the direction so when you pull it out of the box, the board is face up and not face down. Go ahead and slide that out of the box. And place your board face up on the table. Now we're going to want to flip the board carefully over to the back side of the board backer so we can access the packing straps. Now you'll want to take your box cutter and you want to cut upward on these straps so you don't accidentally cut through the backer and into the board. So pull up on the strap and then just pop each backer or each strap off the backer. You can go ahead and remove your board backer, move that out of the way, and then rip off your cellophane. All right, we also ship each board with a couple of beverage koozies on the ends to protect the tip of the board instead of those rubber bumpers that you would just discard. Now you get a couple Humanoid branded beverage cruisers that you can take out on the boat or take with you to the cable. So go ahead and peel those off. Those are attached with some removable tape, so you'll want to remove that too. All right, once you get your koozies off, you'll notice that we put a couple of insert warning labels. These are removable stickers as well. Make sure before you take these off your board, you read through the text on these labels. There's some important information about using the screwdrivers, not using a drill gun. We don't want you to use a drill gun to put your bindings on your board because drill guns tend to be too fast and they don't allow you to feel if you're cross-threading your screws or not. So please do not use a drill gun. Make sure you use that number 3 screwdriver I mentioned previously. So go ahead and peel your insert stickers off. These stickers also go over checking your bindings before every ride, so make sure you do that as well. All right, now before you disassemble your other wakeboard, we suggest you figure out what the stance width is if you want that stance width to translate over to your new board. So the best way to do that is grab your tape measure and on your other board or your old board, measure from inside screw to inside screw, take that measurement and then add one side binding plate width. So most binding plate widths are 6 inches, but if you have a big foot, you might have a 7-inch spacing, or if you have an older binding, it might be 8-inch spacing. So all you do is take the tape measure, go from one side of the plate to the other where the screws attach, and it should be in inches, and these are all the Humanoid bindings are 6-inch, and then the 12, 13 plus are 7-inch. So in this case, it's 6 inches. So on my old board, I'll measure from inside screw to inside screw, and then add just one side, not 2 sides, because binding your stance widths measured from the center of the binding to the other center of the binding. So it'd be 3 inches to this side, to this screw, and then 3 inches to this screw, plus the width in between those 2 screws. So that's why we add just one side. So it's the middle screws plus one full plate width, and that gives you your stance width. So in this case, my old board had a 25-inch stance width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that measurement from screw to screw plus plate width, and I'm going to try to find that on my new board. So in this case, it's the second insert from the outside, which gives me 31. So if I'm minus 6, which is my plate width, I'm down to the 25 inches that I measure from center to center on my other board. So that makes sense, and I can mount my bindings. So take your bindings, place them in between those two inserts on the board. Now, if you have humanoid bindings, each piece of hardware has a nylon washer on it. This nylon washer is there to act like a lock washer. If your bindings are new, this washer is going to compress. Especially on your first ride, everything kind of breaks in. Your insert pack's in the board, the chassis is going to compress a little bit, and this nylon washer is going to compress a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to tighten them down as much as you can on your first ride, but make sure after that first ride you check them again. And they might have loosened up and you want to tighten them again. You might even want to check them in the middle of your first ride just to make sure they're tight, just to make sure nothing happens. This will go away eventually over time, but it's something that we want you to try to do before each ride. So make sure you keep a number 3 screwdriver in the boat if you're a boat rider, and maybe in your car if you go to the cable. All right, let's put a binding on the board. So what you want to do first, take your M6 metric screws and try to thread one into your first insert. Make sure you use your number 3 screwdriver. Now, one thing we suggest doing is don't tighten this side down all the way first. That's one mistake that a lot of riders do. And what it does is it causes the other side to cross thread. So what we suggest is find your stance angle and thread that screw only a few threads, and just real lightly, don't force it in. It should guide itself in. Just thread that a few threads, and then that'll leave the binding loose so you can move it around. It'll also leave it loose enough so this screw can thread itself without cross-threading. So go ahead and nice and lightly find that one, and it'll just guide itself in. All right, once you have them both about 3 to 4 threads in, go ahead and tighten them all the way down as tight as you can get, hand tight. And this number 3 screwdriver will grip that screw head really well and enable you to get it super tight. Remember, don't use the number 2 screwdriver. All right, once you get that binding on there super tight, go ahead and do your other side exactly the same way and you're all set up. All right, that's it for setting up your product. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us directly, and stay tuned for more content coming your way.